What's up? How are you? So glad to have you here, man.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Sweet. So really what I want to do today is like talk a little bit about, who you are and, what this era is like for you, and then dive into a bit about like the songs that we made and what the process was like.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
You want to do
Well,
like a quick intro, yeah, about yourself?
what up, everybody? The name's MR.MANIA. I'm eating a Cobb salad from Walmart. Pretty mid, not gonna lie. But um, I have arrived here to shake things up. You know what I'm saying? So we're shaking shit
Mm.
up.
Awesome. Let's go. I
Let's
love
go.
that. So, I mean, what would you say you were the most excited about in this era of like shaking things up?
Um, there's nothing off limit, which is the fun part. Like with being someone that pushes boundaries, I can kind of say and do whatever I want. And there's a little bit of a line you don't want to cross, but like from a branding perspective, I can just do whatever the fuck I want, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, no, I bet that actually sounds kind of cool. Is there anything that's like limiting, or maybe that's the wrong word, but like a kind of a downside of this?
Um, a little bit in a sense of like with an addictive personality, I feel like this has caused me to kind of tap back into a lot of addictive traits, which hasn't been great, but it's part of the territory, you know. Like it's a roller coaster ride, so we're here.
No, that's fair. No, I love your like openness too and like diving into this, and doing something different. Um, so I mean, in terms of the songwriting, like what was the process like for you writing these songs? Like not just even the ones we worked on, but on the whole project.
Um, really, I just kind of let shit come to me and hopped up in the studio. If this is what I was feeling today, this is what we did. If a song needed to be turned up, I'd buy some drinks, take some gummies, get a little bud, whatever it takes. Um, just let shit come to me. Really, I didn't really have like a focus. This is what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and it's kind of cool because like with the artwork displaying this like abstract Picasso type of image, I kind of wanted the album to feel like that. And so I just made whatever I felt like, whatever sound I felt like. Knew I was in this mood or that mood, whatever. But then once I had the whole thing in front of me, then I was able to be like, okay, this makes sense here. How are we going to tell a story with what I got going on? And I think the final product is really solid. It really showcases the difference between myself and Modo. And one, I know my half's better, but it's to me interesting to see which side people enjoy more and what they take away from everything. Also,
Mm. That's interesting in terms of the process. Like, how does that differ from the previous projects that you've made?
um, previous ones were a lot more like pre-planned, um, in a sense of like I know I wanted this song, I know I wanted this to be the result,
Mm.
I know I wanted this similar sonic landscape.
Okay.
Whereas this one
Yeah.
was just kind of more of a free for all, but still was able to because it was a certain part of my life, period of life. I was able to make a cohesive concept album with it.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. Like, would you say that this is the most almost like authentic that your music has ever been?
Um, yeah, yeah, I think so. Just because it's been very, it's also very performative at the same time. So it's very authentic, but it's like we're ramping it up. You know what I'm saying? So it's authentic, but also um,
Embellished in a
expounded
way?
upon to make it more. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
the performances in the sessions are more intense, more energetic.
Yeah, I noticed that.
The lows are more low, the highs are more high. Um, just because portraying a feeling, you can
Mhm.
write something all day and have it be a really cool lyric or or hook or verse, but like you got to portray the emotion behind it. And I think with this also being the first project I didn't record myself and mix and master myself, I worked with someone. Shout out Gotti in Kansas City, Brigatti. Um, so I was able to let go of that and just come in and just do my thing as a performer and a vocalist. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think you did, like, from what I've heard so far, you've done a really good job of like really embodying this like persona and just amplifying everything, between the content and like the performance on the mic and everything, which is
Oh yeah,
really well done.
man.
Um,
One of these days, people are going to realize the genius that's in front of them.
exactly. No, I love that. So, what would you say inspired you to write the songs, specifically the ones that we worked on, your like Smart Ass, Quick Fix? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like you talk a bit about that side of the process.
So I knew I wanted sonically, I wanted more like pop rock rap fusion
Right.
with like a dark hint. And so I remember we had that conversation. Um, Smart Ass specifically, I feel like I touched on different parts of this way I'm presenting myself, and I needed that. I just needed that smart ass song where I'm just like kind of talking shit. Because there's like different areas of this, like being in a manic phase and a ramp up. There's different parts of that. There's the come down. There's the self destructiveness. But as far as like the real like tongue in cheek smart ass, I needed something to come through for that. And so I just had fun with that one. Just kind of included uh, really just upping myself and talking shit on everyone else, pretty much. And then for Quick Fix, that was actually touching on the more of the addiction side of things. And that's just not just substances. That's just like the quick fix in general, like the the attention, the social media buzz, just like the feeling of like being that guy, and just how
Hmm.
it can overtake you and just kind of destroy you at the same time. So that one ended up being really cool because with the way we added in, I don't want to spoil it yet, but the way we added in things and like the sounds and like the soundscape adds to the story I'm telling, even in that song. And I think the placement of the album, once you hear the whole album, it really it really encapsulates the final like what happens at this end of this ramp up, and then it concludes right that the song right after that, Scrambled Eggs, really concludes the whole thing. So I think it was a very solid placement song in the conceptual part of it as well.
Hmm. That's actually interesting. Like going back to the process of, creating the whole like project. How did you come up with the track list?
Um, at first, I literally just started making stuff, and once I started seeing what I was saying and what sounds were working well, first off with like putting together like performance set lists anyway. I've had some experience in that and just like doing shows and doing like I've done long sets upwards of like hour and a half. So like understanding how songs flow and like what an audience needs to be kept in a kind of up and down emotional ride, that helps. I really just created a bunch of stuff, and then once I had a solid amount, I started like, okay, well, this kind of flows into this. These are
Hmm.
similar topics. Let's put him over here, and it just kind of evolved that way. There was no like, okay, this has to be here. I need to make a song for this part. It just kind of I made stuff and was like, okay, this can go here, this can go here. And then once the majority of that was done, there was a few conceptual pieces that I wanted to add that just kind of tied everything together as a concept.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. It sounds really super fluid though. Like I
Hmm.
like how you went into this. There's something super freeing of like just making music to make what you love and
Right.
then sort of figuring it all out after. I think that's something that I like personally don't really do either. And I think the way that you've changed it up for this project has been really great. Um, I guess kind of the last question I have for you, and this one, maybe it's better if I drop this interview after the project comes
Okay.
out, but
Okay.
I'm so interested. Like, how did you come up with the intro for Quick Fix?
Well, that's fine. You can post this before.
Okay.
Also, Uh, I want to just shout out kombucha, however you say it. This is a
Yeah.
lifesaver. You gotta tap in, get your gut health right. Your gut's directly linked to your brain. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, the intro to Quick Fix is so I was actually writing that. Um, I actually went to my grandfather's funeral on my mom's side, and I'm kind of very disconnected from that side of the family. But I wanted to go and pay respects and everything. And that's actually a story where, um, at that moment, my alcohol consumption was pretty high. Not just that day, but just like that period. And I was actually driving back, and I got pulled over while I'd been drinking. And but luckily, I got off scot free. But that kind of inspired that song to me. Really wanting to dive back into um, the addiction and the quick fix in general. And so I was like, what if instead of getting pulled over and just getting off and like everything's okay, what if instead I pulled off and got in a police chase? And
Yeah.
so that inspired that part of that song.
Oh, wow, that's really interesting. Okay, because I was curious if it was a, personal experience, like you said, or if it was more of a creative idea, but it was a kind of a mix of both, which is really
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. I'm definitely a method actor, so like whatever thing I'm doing, I literally live it. So it's very interesting to pick a self-destructive character like myself and embody it. So it's been, like I said, it's been up and down. There's been freeing things, but then there's been problems that come with it too.
Yeah.
But that's just part of the art in reality.
Hmm. No, that's really interesting. So yeah, I mean, eh, keep doing what you're doing because you're killing it. And like those are all the questions that I really had for you. Anything that you want to talk about or anything to add?
Yeah, with what was like your inspiration for the production of these when I first brought it to you? Did you have like
Honestly, yeah. This was a challenge for me because the music that you had referenced was so different. One thing I appreciated though was like from the beginning, you were like, you can do this. Like, I know you can do this. And I really
mhm,
appreciated that because it was kind of daunting. So for me, I feel like I went through like maybe 3 or 5 beats before I really got to the ones that I sent over.
mhm,
Um, because like I said, I'd never really made anything like this before. Which also like I love a good challenge. So for
yeah,
me, that's like just a good experience. Um, but yeah, I had listened to the project that you referenced and I listened to it like three times at least. And then I kind of like got into the mindset of it.
mhm,
Um, I think the one thing that was really different for me was the drums. Like I'm so used to doing like trap drums and it's become
uh-huh,
very like natural and fluid for me. But trying something different with more like organic sounds or just like different sounds was really interesting for me as well. I think Smartass was the one that was probably closest to what I usually make. Quick Fix
mhm,
was like just completely different than anything I've ever done. But I had such a good feeling when I made it. Like I was so proud of it, but I was like, this is a good beat for what we're doing. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, that's kind
And
of what the that was like.
was Quick Fix the one? Because I know you worked with a producer on one. Was it the Quick Fix one that was co-produced?
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Yeah. So what was that like? How did you approach him? Or was a guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you approach him with what you had and what I had kind of brought to you? How did that process work?
Yeah, I told him I was working on this beat, but I couldn't really get get it tied together right. And I told him like the same reference that you had mentioned, the Oliver Tree album, and he just ended up being somebody who loved Oliver Tree and like was listening to him for a really long time. So it was
Nice.
kind of a perfect fit. And he really helped me with the 808s, but also like the switch. Like I couldn't really get that smooth. It felt too dramatic. But
Mhm.
when I worked with somebody else on it and also just getting that second opinion, like another ear from a producer especially, it just helps really tie it all together. So I think when people hear that one, I think that's going to be a favorite.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's such a like I said, such a conceptual tie-in piece to
Yeah.
the second half, and whenever like well, I think you're talking about that breakdown where it's like wah 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 wah.
Yeah.
That's so yeah. As soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, it's gonna go in on this shit. So that's a really fun one for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was probably one of the most fun experiences I've had making a beat this maybe even this whole year because that was like I said just so different for me and
Yeah,
it's so nice to get out of the routine of making the same kind of sounds over and over. Um yeah, so that was great.
hell yeah. So what are you looking for? Because you haven't heard the whole project.
Hmm.
What are you looking forward to seeing, and what is your expectation or outside viewpoint of where and how I presented everything right now? Like, what is like? Just give me your thoughts on everything. I just kind of want to know from an outsider's perspective what everything has been presented like.
I think you're really good at like embodying a persona. I'd say like you've done a really good job of presenting it in a way that anybody who's been around for like, longer than this era, it knows that this is something different. But I think
Mhm.
for people that are new coming in, it's just so cool for them because they have no idea like what it was like, what the Icarus project was like, or like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So you've always been good at like embodying the piece of art, but in this case, because it's so like dramatic and wild, I think people are just going to be so hooked and so interested. For me, I know I am. Like I can't wait to hear the project.
Hell
And
yeah.
like I know that also it's going to be one of those albums that like I sit down and listen to. I'm not
Yep.
like doing something else in the time because it's like I want to focus and understand the concept and like be transported into that world.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So I think it's also going to be a project for other people where it's kind of an escape. Like
Hmm.
maybe you want to be, you know, going for another drink or going for like a smoke, but I also think it might be something where instead of doing that, I can go listen to this and get like a similar dopamine hit.
Yeah, definitely. And it's cool because like I do talk about a lot of bad things and just like, but I'm never a glorifier of them.
Mm,
So I think, like you said, yeah, whenever you're in that mind state, it's like I can put this on and like you can relate to the feeling, but maybe it'll encourage you to not do that because
yeah.
everything culminates in, especially in this project, it's like these are the bad things that happen when you do this. So
Hmm. Yeah. It is interesting too, the way you said that, because like a lot of hip hop music will like glorify it.
mhm.
Um, and you've kind of taken it in a completely different direction, which is so cool and smart. And I didn't really realize that until you mentioned it. Um, yeah. So yeah, I'm just overall like really excited to hear the project.
Hell yeah, it's I'm very proud of it. I'm excited to just finally get it out. This like rollout process has seemed like, but I mean, I finished the album in the end of May, and so June, July, and August, and even now into September. Well, I guess October now, but just so much shooting and editing, and it's new to
Yeah.
everyone else. But for me, I'm just like, all right, I'm ready to, what I'm saying, I'm ready to go on the next shit. So
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Also, shout out to whoever does your music videos. They're
yeah,
crazy. So such high quality. I love it. The one for Fear No More is like,
yeah,
I love that video. Yeah.
that's Tyler and Chris.
Okay.
They both collabed on the Clown 3 video last year as well.
That
Um,
makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah,
that's also a crazy video.
yeah. So I like getting both of them around, and they're both. And I've worked with Chris. I've worked with both of them for a long time. Chris did a lot of the main video shoots. Tyler was around early on and came back, but they both understand not only the ability to like hear a song and visualize it, but also like when I approach them with an idea, they're very good about not only riffing off my idea, but just getting it. And it saves a lot of that like, oh no, 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 I'm trying to do this and like what I'm saying? Like sometimes you work with people and they just can't see what you see, but they're
Yes.
both really well at like visualizing what I'm explaining and seeing the same kind of thing. And then also having their own ideas that Might not be
Mhm.
exactly what I was thinking, but can encapsulate the same concept.
Yeah, no, it's really good that you have that because I know like with as an independent artist too, when you're trying to figure it all out yourself, having other people that can see your vision makes
Yeah,
it a world easier because otherwise it's like you're just trying to force something into existence and nobody else can really see eye to eye with you.
yeah. It can be a very lonely road independently. I would recommend anyone and everyone that's trying to do this shit. Well, first of all, if you're trying to be a solo artist, first of all, I wouldn't in today's landscape. Like it's such a saturated, just bogged down thing now that like if I were to start now, I would tell people not to. But if you are in it already, I would say find people around you um, that are talented because not only will it be lonely, but you're also going to make a lot of mistakes. That if you have people around you, they'll be there to check you and maybe redirect. Maybe the idea is cool, but maybe it's not presented correctly, or maybe there's just a missing link. And I think having those people around you will really keep you creating not just good content, but good songs and good albums and presenting yourself in a good way.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great advice. And I totally understand what you mean about it being such a saturated market now. It's really hard to distinguish yourself as an artist.
Yep.
And that's why I would say, kind of tying this back into like what you're doing such a good job of being something different and doing something different because, like you said, like there's so many artists trying to make it.
Hmm.
And obviously, like making it is different for everybody. Um, but especially if you want to be independent, like I think that you do, then, you know, being able to distinguish yourself is pretty much the biggest
Yeah.
challenge.
Well, and that stems from one, you got to ask yourself as an artist, why are you doing this in the first place?
Mm,
And I feel like it's finally starting to change because everything's become so saturated, and there's a lot of people that have been in this a few years and like, wow, this shit's really tough. Like it's not I'm gonna pop up and make a couple records and blow up and be cool and shit. And so like that kind of era is starting to finally leave, and which is one good for like artists that are actually like really care about this because it's gonna help us like get through the noise and the clutter. But it goes
yeah.
back to like, why are you doing this in the first place? If you're doing this because you want to say you're an artist, if you want to be an artist because it's easy money, or you want exposure and you want attention, or I've encountered this a lot of time, you have a shitty job and
Mm.
you're like, well, I don't want to do that. So what's an easy way? Oh, I'm gonna be an artist. I'm gonna blow up. Shut the fuck up. First of all, like, leave this shit for people who care about it
Mhm.
and want to really change the world or change a mindscape or present an idea. Because I think we've lost a lot of that. And there's always been eras where there's been the very commercial fast food type music. But I
Mhm.
think with the ease of access and removing all gatekeepers, which is good and bad, it's good because it allows anyone to do this, and the people that are talented and do care no longer have those barriers in front of them. But it's also bad because then it lets anyone in.
Mhm.
And I think we're finally getting to the end of that, the California gold rush, if you will, of like just, oh, I want to be cool and I want to be an artist. And so I think it's starting to really weed out those people. And I'm hoping in the next 3 or 4 years it'll be back to like who's creating the best art and really pushing a thought or a sound innovative in that way.
Yeah. I love that the way you said that too about, you're hoping in 3 and 4 years. Like a lot of artists will go into this thinking, oh, I'm gonna blow out this year. They have
Yep.
no idea the years of hard work of actually building your skills that it takes to actually get anywhere, just like a small inch farther.
Yeah.
Um, so I think you're right. Like a lot of the people who thought, okay, I'm going to do this year, or I'm going to
Yep.
give myself 3 years to, blow up. And the whole idea too of like blowing up is just kind of mind-boggling to me because you have this where you think the goal is longevity because that's what it should be, right? You want to be in the industry for the
Right.
rest of your life, right? The goal isn't virality.
Right.
Um, and I think that's a big thing that most artists are missing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you can, I mean, if you have a moment and you pop off and you go viral, why is anyone staying
Hmm.
besides that moment?
Yeah.
And I feel like if you chase that moment, you're never gonna you're never gonna build anything. It's the same way how we're like the lottery. People play the lottery, and a lot of the lottery winners end up being broke within a couple years
Yeah.
because they're just going for that big quick fix, if you will, and it doesn't result in anything past that.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Yeah, no, this has been such a great conversation. I love how we talked about the branding, the music, and also the
Yeah,
landscape of the industry, which is like something I didn't even think we were going to talk about, but was really, I think, going to be beneficial for other people to hear as
yeah,
well. It's like from somebody like you and like myself that are actually doing this to do it for the rest of our lives, like what it's
right.
actually like. So yeah, no, this has been great chatting.
Yeah,
I'm glad we
definitely.
got to do this. And is it cool with you if I put a snippet of Quick Fix or Smartass at the end of this? Maybe Quick Fix because we talked
Yeah,
about
that's
it.
cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay,
Yeah, let's do it.
awesome. Okay, cool. And I'll drop the link in the description as well for all of your socials and all that.
Perfect, perfect. I appreciate you for taking time as well to do this.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to work on this album. I know you were a big fan of the last album, so it was cool to get you in and be a part of this one. I think both tracks are very stellar tracks. I'm excited for you to hear the whole project and everyone else who's watching.
Yeah.
Ballad of Mr. Mania, October 18th. We fucking
Yes.
shit up this year. I'm telling y'all.
Let's go. I'm so excited. Okay, awesome. Um, Sweet. It's been really great chatting with you, and we'll talk super soon.
Sounds good.